I'm here this afternoon with Henry Nicol, who is the Labour Market Intelligence Analyst for the County of San Bernardino, who is going to be talking today about labour market intelligence. Rather fascinating subject. Thank you for being with us, Henry.
Thank you, Colin. Yeah, my job here at the Workforce Development Department is to assist the county's economic development initiatives by providing intelligence. And what we do specifically is we look at employment and education data. Our local economy is based on a good alignment between our education system and our employers. Ideally, our education system should be producing the skill sets that are required by our local employers. So what we do on a regular basis is look at employment data to ensure that we have high levels of employment in the county. We look at unemployment data, the number of individuals that have filed for unemployment, and then we also look at what's called the labor market participation rate. And that is the proportion of people that are working compared to the total number of individuals that are of working age. That would be individuals roughly between the ages of 18 and 65 that are not institutionalized, either in prison or in any kind of a health facility. So that proportion gives us a sense of how effective our economic ecosystem, our workforce ecosystem, is aligned with the fundamentals that are required to ensure that our economy is functioning appropriately and our workforce is providing the level of jobs that are needed to supply the employers that are in the region. We also look at trends in terms of changes that may be occurring in the local economy, in terms of new industries that may be emerging, other industries that may be in decline, and what effect that may have on the existing workforce, and how we can develop training programs and work within the education system to ensure that the system aligns with the needs of our local economy. So some of the data that we look at are education data. We want to look at the types of degrees, the types of training programs that are being provided in our area. We look at the types of jobs that are being created, the types of jobs that are being destroyed, and the amount of turnover that is occurring within those jobs to make sure that we have a healthy supply of potential employees to supply industry with the workforce it will need. So over time, what we do is we conduct trend analyses to see what industries may be growing. We use what is called the North American Industry Classification System, which classifies industries by general and then more specific subcategories. Each of those industries has certain occupations that are tied to it. So for instance, a manufacturer of healthcare technology may have a certain typical proportion of executives, marketing professionals, engineers, assembly line workers, machinists, technologists of different types, and so forth. And each industry has roughly a general proportion of different types of occupations that are aligned with that industry. And so what we can do is extrapolate from the types of industries, the concentration of industry that we have in our region, and generally the proportion of various occupations that are going to be needed to fill the demands of those existing industries. So once we do an analysis of the types of industries that exist in our region, we can then look at the occupation codes that are associated with those industries and then identify whether or not there may be gaps in terms of the types of occupations that are going to be required and the types of occupations that are currently being filled within the education system. So overall, it's sort of like thinking of an ecosystem. The economy is certainly an ecosystem that relies upon effective allocation of resources in both our education system, and that alignment needs to be consistent with the needs of industry and the employers that are ultimately going to employ those individuals that are being trained for those students that are going through school. So then once we have a fairly good idea of the types of occupations that are being demanded based on the concentration of industry that we have, we can then see what kinds of training programs, what kinds of education programs we need to focus in on to ensure that we have good alignment. And that's the point at which we engage with our education partners in the county, be they K through 12 education or our colleges, university system, to make sure that the programs that we are providing within that system are well aligned with the needs of our local economy. So for instance, we do a report every year, a labor market and intelligence report that the county releases that looks at what the economy currently needs in terms of industry concentrations. We then do an analysis of how many degrees are being produced in the local economy. Some of our recent projects have included a proposal for the Amazon HQ2 project. That project tended to rely upon a high level of software engineers. And in order for them to fill the demand that they had, they wanted to ensure that they had enough software engineers locally that could fill the positions required to meet Amazon's needs. Based on that analysis, we were able to identify where we had potential shortages, and then we were able to identify possible solutions in which to address those shortages of software engineers locally. And we did that by first looking at an analysis or developing an analysis based on Amazon's current structure, current needs, and current demand for software engineers, and then aligning that with the number of software engineering programs and awards that are generated within the region. What we found was that certainly we did have some programs regionally, but there was going to be a shortage. And so what we did is we started looking beyond the region and identifying whether or not we could supply enough inflow of software engineers from other areas outside the San Bernardino area to fill that demand. So in short, labor market intelligence is about understanding, again, that alignment between the needs of industry and our education system in the context of this overall economic ecosystem that we have within the county. So I thank you for your time. And again, if you have any questions, certainly I would invite you to visit our website for the County Workforce Development Board. And there you can find information on our labor market intelligence resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.